Welcome to Front Office Pros. Today, we're going to be talking about some bargain bin rookies that could be league winners in fantasy football for the 2024 season.
Hike!
All right, Joe. So for this episode, we're going to be going to the bottom of the barrel for these rookies. We're not talking about your Malik Neighbors, your Marvin Harrison Jr.'s. Those guys we know have that league-winning potential. We're going to be going for what we view as the bargain bin and auction drafts. These are less than $5 players that you can snag at the end of your draft that we think could help you win your league. So who's your first one?
So for my first player I'm going to talk about is quarterback Jayden Daniels. His value currently sits at $3, and we've seen rookies, they people take a shot at the end of their drafts, especially in auctions. Typically, you can get them right around this mark. I'd say the $3 mark, and they might struggle at the beginning, but eventually, down the road, they show that potential. I mean, I know he wasn't technically a rookie, but just look at somebody like Jordan Love last year, his first year starting. In the auction league that I'm playing in, he went for $1, and at the end of the stretch, he was one of the best quarterbacks. So just looking for these rookie quarterbacks, definitely Jayden Daniels has an opportunity with that rushing upside as well. He's got a plethora of weapons in Washington, so I really like his potential.
Plethora.
Yeah.
You think he has a plethora? That's a big word there.
It's $5 word, Steve.
Yeah, and he's not worth $5, so you might want to change that one. I mean, he's got Terry McLaurin. I mean, after that, I think everything else is pretty washed out.
Jahan Dotson, Zach Ertz is
Never
there.
proven,
The rookie Ben Sinnott.
old.
I
Never
think
proven.
Honestly, and I think Austin Eckler is going to help him out too in the pass game from the running back position. I still think he's got some juice left.
Interesting. Well, Joe believes that it's a plethora of weapons over in our nation's capital. Here's the thing. I do like the pick though, because when it comes to Jayden Daniels, he's got that running upside, and we know for quarterbacks that's a cheat code if they're able to get those rushing yards, because they're going to get more points. They're going to get 0.1 per yard. For passing yards, they're not going to get that. So that's always going to be a bonus for you if you have a quarterback who's got rushing upside. And Jayden Daniels is fast. So I think you're going to be able to get that with him. And, you kind of pointed to the last QB strategy. I kind of have followed that strategy for a long time. I've kind of deviated a little bit recently just because it seems like some of the top quarterbacks are almost kind of creating somewhat of a separation. But like you mentioned, you draft a guy like Jordan Love for $1, you draft a guy like Jayden Daniels for $3. That might be all you need to be able to be successful at the quarterback position for your teams.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd want to be rolling with just, Jayden Daniels or Jordan Love, but, definitely getting somebody. I mean, if you really want to go cheap, you could always grab a guy like Jared Goff, who typically goes cheap to pair along with him. Or if you want to, spend up on one of the top quarterbacks, being able to grab a rookie at a cheap price is a good way to get your, quarterback too, just in case.
So my first bargain bin rookie is going to be wide receiver Keon Coleman. Coleman, right now, if you look at average auction value, he's looking for around $3. So he's not really going for all that much. And he has been quite the buzz in Bill's training camp. You have to kind of verify what you're taking and taking out. This is a very difficult time to absorb this content because people are so itching for wanting to get a leg up on everybody. And so they're what do we have? We have training camp reports. But one thing I am surprised about is how quickly he's acclimated to the offense. It seems like every day you're hearing about Allen and him connecting on a touchdown. I do think that also the person, I know this might seem kind of crazy I'm saying this, but I do think their personalities really jive. They're both sort of goofy, and I think it creates some sort of chemistry, honestly, especially with him being a young guy and creating a rapport. So if they're being able to be able to count on one another and bond and what have you, I do think that could also help. But regardless, I have him projected kind of modestly, to be honest with you. So the way I have it right now, you could say I don't think he's going to be a league winner. I've got him just under 600 yards, 53 catches, and 6 touchdowns. But where I think his money could be made here is I think he might get more than 6 touchdowns. I think Allen really has never had a receiver of his caliber. And, could he push into the 7, 8, 9 touchdown area? that's where you could possibly see him as a league winner. But there's a lot of vacated targets, a lot of vacated yards, a lot of vacated touchdowns. I like betting on somebody who has that potential upside with all the vacant targets.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a lot more bullish than you on Coleman in my projections. I mean, I statted him out to potentially be the wide receiver 1 for the Buffalo Bills. And the buzz is he kind of is the wide receiver 1 right now at training camp. But like you said, kind of got to take those things with a grain of salt because there's a lot of headlines that are made in training camp and everyone's overreaction to, how these different practices go.
Are you enjoying this episode so far? Well, if you are, subscribe to our YouTube channel, smash that like button, and hit the notification bell for upcoming videos. We do videos throughout the year, so you're not going to want to miss what we have in store. So, Joe, who do you got as your second guy?
And my second guy, I'm going to go with running back Trey Benson, who also happens to be $3. And look, I know James Conner has been a solid fantasy back in Arizona, but this guy, you can almost bank on him getting injured and at some point missing games. So I do think at some point, maybe this is more of a draft and stash for Trey Benson for when James Conner does get hurt, or maybe he does get more opportunities late in the season, or if they want to try to go with a hot hand or something. But Trey Benson's got a lot of talent, like the way his ability to break tackles. He's got some speed as well. Like a lot about him, and I think he's one of the top rookie running backs in this class. The question will be whether or not he'll be a kind of a league winner for you is if he gets enough, playing time and enough touches.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, in my view, the only way he becomes a league winner is if James Conner goes down. If James Conner gets injured and then Benson becomes the running back, then we're talking. Because even Kyler Murray, I mean, I don't know this off the top of my head, but I feel like a lot of his scrambling, he's not talking. We're not talking about a lot of quarterback draws in the red zone and getting rushing touchdowns, right? We're not talking about Lamar Jackson, Anthony Richardson, Josh Allen. We're not talking that type. Kyler Murray does get rushing yards, but I think it's just that he's a different type of runner. So Benson, he would be clearing away the guy there. So I'm with you. I do like the pick. I like taking running backs later in drafts. Especially, I tend to lean more towards the zero running back strategy these days. Because in the event James Conner goes down, now you've got Benson, and now you're talking about having a really good starter on your hands.
Yeah, and I think as far as, Conner getting hurt is more of a when it happens than if it happens.
So my bargain bin rookie that I think will help you win your championships is running back Jalen Wright, Miami Dolphins. I talked about him recently. He's a guy who's kind of buried behind the depth chart right now. But if he gets that opportunity to cash in, I'm definitely willing to take that $1 flyer on him right now in auction drafts to get him. We talked about it recently. Raheem Mostert, he had a huge workload last year, over 209 carries, played 15 games. He's only played 1/3 of his career, where he's played basically the whole season. He's bound for touchdown regression. Devon Achane, which is everyone's darling right now. People are very excited about him. If he could stay on the field, that's great. He only played 12 games last year. So I think Jalen Wright, has a lot of potential. And if he has an opportunity, I think you don't want to miss out on him.
Yeah, definitely. And, just like we talked about with Achane, Miami's the perfect spot for a guy like Jalen Wright, just another guy with a ton of speed. And Miami's going to know how to utilize him. And like you said, just Mostert's had a lot of injury, trouble in his career, trouble staying on the field. You mentioned Achane only being able to play 12 games. There's a good chance that one or both of those guys gets hurt, and it could definitely create an avenue for Jalen Wright. And if he does get an opportunity, I think he could have somewhat of an Achane effect. Maybe he's not as explosive as an Achane, but I think he's pretty close.
Well, and I think too, I was surprised. I think you might have been too. I was definitely surprised how much they used Achane and how successful he was in his rookie season. I know you were a fan of his more so than me, because I was more concerned about his height and his size. You were always looking at the speed, but I think even you were surprised as to how well he did.
Not really. I mean, I really liked Achane coming out last year.
But did you see him when the weeks that he did? I mean, he really could have been a league winner for you last year until he kind of dwindled out.
Yeah, I mean, the problem was he didn't get to play the Broncos defense every week when he had like 2 or 3 touchdowns in that game and just was running away from everybody. Um, but that was also a game, they were up by so much. Mostert was coming off the field and they were like, hey, that was really Achane's like first big coming out party in that game.
All right, Joe, who's your final bargain bin rookie that you think will be a league winner?
And my final player is going to be wide receiver Xavier Legette. And currently his value sits at $1, and I'd gladly take $1 dart throw on him. It's a guy that's a Deebo Samuel-esque type player with his ability of what he can do after the catch. Break tackles, almost turn into that running back once he gets the ball in his hands. Carolina's upgraded the offensive line for Bryce Young. They've also upgraded the receiver room to have Deontay Johnson, have Adam Thielen, who I expect his role to decrease this year, with the acquisition of Deontay Johnson. And I think that could free up somebody like an Xavier Legette to just kind of get those short, quick passes, but then his ability to break tackles and create the big plays.
I gotta be honest with you. I'm excited to watch this Panthers team. I know people probably think I'm nuts. I mean, right now I believe Vegas has them as rated as probably going to be the worst team in the NFL. I think them and the Patriots, I think, are kind of betting odds that they're going to be the worst.
Broncos are pretty low too.
Well, yeah. But I'm just saying though, like to me, I think this offense could be very interesting with new head coach Dave Canales bringing in Deontay Johnson. They still have Adam Thielen. They've got Legette. They've got Mingo. They've got Jonathan Brooks. I mean, they've got they beefed up the offensive line. They got Ja'Tavion Sanders. I mean, they really overhauled this thing. So I'm with you. I like Legette a lot. I mean, I view him more as an AJ Brown type, but it's a similar idea. And you're starting to see him have some flashes in training camp. Which again, how much do you take that for a grain of salt, or do you how much do you account for that production in training camp? But nevertheless, I think that he could be really good this year. I know Adam Thielen had a really good year, but is he going to be used the same way in the Canales offense? And he's just getting older, so and the talent in this receiver room is a lot better than what it was last year. I think too many thought that, oh, why are we getting Legette? Legette's too similar to Mingo. I don't think that's the case. I think Mingo not Mingo. I think Legette offers a little bit of a different variety when it comes to his skill set.
Yeah, ultimately I think Legette's going to turn out to be that player that they were hoping Mingo was going to be last year. And obviously this is a new, coaching regime. They didn't go out and draft Mingo last year. They decided to go with a guy like Legette, and I'm curious to see how they utilize him in this offense.
So my final bargain bin rookie is going to be wide receiver Jermaine Burton of the Cincinnati Bengals. Look, I mean, this offense is changing. I mean, they had Tyler Boyd for a long time. He's now with Tennessee. You got T. Higgins on the franchise tag. Had a really disappointing season last year. Who knows if he's going to be, there the following year. I think Burton is really the future. And right now, I mean, I kind of have, I think, a little bit conservative, but I have him getting over 800 yards, actually surpassing Higgins, 53 catches and 4 touchdowns. Now, he could do even better than that, honestly. It really depends on how much, Chase is going to garner, and then you got T. Higgins as well. So to me, I think that he has some really league-winning upside. I'm a little more bullish than you are with Burton. I have him getting 811 yards. You have him getting 588.
Well, I'm probably more bullish on T. Higgins than you, and that's probably the difference.
And you are, yeah. You have him over 1,000 yards, and I do not. Yeah.
Right.
And it could be, right? And then this is, kind of the gamble you take. But this offense is going to look a lot different. No Mixon anymore. No Tyler Boyd. So this is definitely a different looking offense. So who's going to benefit from the change in scenery?
Yeah, there's also, I mean, I like Burton. I mean, he's made some big plays with Alabama. So I'm definitely curious to see, how Zach Taylor plans to utilize him in this Cincinnati Bengals offense. But they also have, some other guys that could potentially work out of the slot to take over Tyler Boyd. So I'll be curious to see like a Trenton Irwin or
Andre Eustavis.
Andre Eustavis. Yeah, exactly. Who's, Eustavis is just getting some buzz today I saw from training camp. So there's a couple of guys there. I'm curious to see, if Burton's able to, get those opportunities over those guys or not, or is it he maybe emerges later in the year?
So that does it for our bargain bin rookies that we think could be league winners for the 2024 fantasy football season. Hopefully you found that helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time.